Hey guys, good morning. Great to have you with us again as we're going through our morning series of daily devotionals. And first of all, just want to say, a huge thank you to all of you who have, given feedback just about your appreciation for the simple way that we can kind of maintain connection, maintain fellowship, and just begin each day just contemplating God and our faith. So thank you for that. Huge encouragement. This morning, I just wanted to consider briefly the idea of Christian love. Love is something that is repeated over 1,000 times throughout the Bible. In the Old Testament, we're told over and over again, repeated over and over again, about God's abounding loving kindness and mercy and grace towards us. Even in the New Testament, the foundational classic verse, John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son." Someone approached Jesus and asked what were the greatest commands that he should follow. And Jesus summed up the entire law by saying the greatest command is to love the Lord your God with your whole self, and then to love others as much as you want to be loved. We also find Paul, the Apostle Paul, writing about the fruit of the Spirit, and the very first fruit that he mentions is love. Paul also writes to the Corinthians, and he says this, that three things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. He says, abide in these things, but the greatest of these three things is love. Throughout the Bible, we get this idea, this picture, this big picture of love being a foundation, a core, a framework in which everything else sits. And this morning, I just want to give a real brief consideration to this. And so turn with me to John chapter 15, and we're going to read from verse 9. "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you have kept my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you and your joy will be complete. This is my commandment, that you have love for one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, than one lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends, for what I have heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you, that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. These things I command you, so that you will love one another." There are three things that I want to briefly consider about Christian love. And the first thing is that Christian love is personal. Notice the opening phrase, "as the Father has loved me." God is not just loving, he is love. It is one of his core attributes. God does not just act in a loving way, he is the source of love. God is not sometimes loving and sometimes not, he is consistently love. God has proven this nature about himself to humanity throughout the ages, and he has maintained a covenantal relationship with his people since creation. That even in their sinfulness, he continued to maintain affection and show his mercy towards them. And it is God's love that won't leave the world the way it is. It is his love that won't let him ignore or neglect sin and pain and suffering. God's love is personal because he loves by being present and giving himself. Not just external gifts, but he gives himself. He comes as himself. Also notice, he invites and brings us to be his friends. He takes us from a place of distance and secures personal intimacy with us. His love is personal because it goes from a matter of function we as servants under him, to a relationship of friendship where we get to personally commune with him. The second thing I want us to see is that Christian love is sacrificial. It is human nature to want to have things our own way. In our culture, the refrain, "I do it my way," signals this kind of personal vindication. It is the ultimate victory cry of the individual, and those of us who are products of Western culture want to be individuals above all else. Individuals who both want to do things their own way and be something that we want to be in our own way. Our greatest goal is towards independence and self-sufficiency. We are looking for freedom from constraint, especially the constraint of those who want to impose their will upon us by telling us what to do. What we want more than anything else in life is to have the ability to control our own path and identity. Sacrifice is not something that is a particularly appealing idea. I don't think any of us relish the idea or the thought of loss that sacrifice necessarily entails. To sacrifice means to give something up, something of value and importance. But the love of Christ is sacrificial. He laid down his life, himself, his position, so that those under him, his servants, would be saved and honoured. He became nothing. He gave up his titles, his position, to promote the position of others, even the position of those who hated and scorned him. He lifted his people to become his friends. He gave them a greater title, a greater position because of himself. The third thing that I want us to see is that Christian love is joyfully giving. Christian love joyfully gives, and it also experiences joy because of giving. Notice in verse 11 that Jesus says he has loved us and told us about his love so that we may experience his joy or himself as we follow his command. That is, we experience his joy as we obey and follow him in his way. What is the command he asks us to follow to receive his joy? Look at verse 12. To love each other as I have loved you. And again in verse 17 he re-emphasizes this. This is my command, that you love each other. And God has called us to live and to give in love. The principle is really this. You can't love until you've been loved, and then only to the degree to which you've been loved. Love always starts there. Let me say it again. The principle is this. You can't love until you've been loved, and only to the degree to which you've been loved. Love must be a supernatural gift of God. Because love pours out and affects all around it. It needs a source. It gives without guarantee of response. It gives without requesting payback. It longs to receive love as a means of then also giving it away. Love does not hoard. It is never meant to become individualized. Love is expressed through giving itself. If there is no giving, then there is no evidence that love exists. The only proof of love is giving. Giving is the action, the outflow that demonstrates love. So the measure of our giving is the measure of our love. The more we give of ourself, our time, our attention, our affection, our patience, our treasure, the more we love. By understanding that love results in giving, we see that Jesus indicated his disciples would be known for their giving. We are to be famous for our giving. This is the way that Jesus indicated people would know who his true followers were, by their giving love. In John 13, Jesus says this, "By this, all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." And so when we love each other sacrificially, promoting others even as we lay ourselves down, when we treat others, even our enemies, as friends, We actually give visible witness to the very source of love and person of God, and to the gospel and cross of Jesus Christ.